Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Star Wars special.
And today we're going to be talking about The Empire Strikes Back, classic 1980 film. This film is actually considered the best Star Wars film, especially of the original trilogy.
That's right. It's directed by Irvin Kershner, who also directed Never Say Never Again, which was, interestingly enough, Sean Connery's last Bond film.
And also RoboCop 2.
That's true, yeah. I love RoboCop. He also did The Luck of Ginger Coffee. That's a great Canadian film with Robert Shaw. This is before he was Quentin Jaws, which we did cover once. But
And before he died of a heart attack or something.
yeah, and when it comes to Empire, I mean, look, George Lucas basically had to twist Kershner's arm to direct this movie, right? I mean, I read and saw online an interview with him, and he basically got a call from George Lucas to have lunch at Universal, and they already knew each other, right? And
yeah, from school or
Lucas,
something.
From school, exactly. Lucas had seen some of his seminars at USC, and I think they went to some parties together. So their paths had crossed before.
They were doing a couple of lines of coke and be like, "Hey, Irv, I think you should direct Star Wars. I'm done."
I'm not saying any of that, but that's probably what happened.
Yeah,
but no,
allegedly.
But no. And so basically, Lucas, asked him to direct the second Star Wars film he was working on, and Kershner was like, "Hell no." He's like, "No." He was like, his concern was the second Star Wars film. I mean, that's not going to top A New Hope, right? New Hope was insanely successful, had all the hype, and praise, and he was like, "No, not touching this movie." Yeah. So, I mean, Lucas, pretty adamant. He was like, Kershner's a great director, and he definitely felt that not only is Kershner a great director, but he was basically overlooked by the film industry. That's what he felt. That was also part of the reasoning that Lucas wanted Kershner to direct the film. So
he's like not a typical Hollywood director.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically, he felt that he was a good director and just didn't, get a good shot. I remember Kershner was saying in one of the interviews that, not surprising, but he hated the script, right? I mean, and I know you heard that too, right? So he was like,
I mean, the
script sucks.
Well, Lucas didn't like the script either.
He didn't like. I mean, this is a sentiment that Lucas was pretty much used to, right? With A New Hope, I mean, a lot of his director friends were like, wanted to take a machete to it. They're like, "George, what do you got here? Is this for real, George?"
Utter dog. I don't think this is going to fly, George. Oh, stop it. I want to make my children's film. Stop making fun of me.
I mean, the thing is, at least Lucas had that awareness, though. I mean, he was like, "Yeah, this isn't so great," and he didn't even like to write, right? I don't think George Lucas even liked writing.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it came to writing, he always felt it was a slog. It was just like, oh, I got to do this. He always preferred hiring other people, just deferring the work to other people, and then he comes back, rewrites it, then gives it back to them. When it came to directing too, even though he had success early on with the short films that he did in USC, then leading on to THX and American Graffiti and Star Wars, he was like, directing was not really a thing he enjoyed doing. And I think ultimately it's because I think Harrison Ford said, like, George likes people, but he doesn't know how to direct them. He doesn't know how to give direction and tell them what needs to be done. So it's like a guy who has an active imagination but doesn't know exactly how to apply it in the real world. So by Empire, he's just like, I want to make a Star Wars, but I don't want to make it. So it's just like, that's why he got Irvin Kershner to do his thing. That's why he got Lawrence Kasdan to do the writing after Lee Brackett died. Yeah. So I mean, it's just like, and ultimately, I think he just serves better as a producer, and that's what he served as a producer all the way until the prequels, actually. And I think when it came to the Ewok movies in the 80s, he just served as a story guy. He just wrote the story, which I think he just maybe wrote an outline, and he just gave the outline to other people to make those movies. So yeah, I think he was more comfortable doing that than actually being hands-on.
But of course, eventually Kershner, he agreed to it, obviously, and even if he didn't like the script and thought it was terrible. And I'm not sure what version of the script he saw, which one he was referring to, but anyways, Lucas had worked on that, and then Lee Brackett helped, and then obviously Kasdan worked on it as well.
Yeah, I think the order was he came up with a rough outline, and then Lee Brackett wrote the first draft, and then from there he rewrote the draft twice, and then he gave it to Kasdan.
Okay.
But like anything else, the story always changes, and that's going to be a running thing with this film and the next film, in terms of like who came up with what idea, and all that stuff.
True, yeah. I mean, you got to give George Lucas, a whole lot of credit for many things, but this film, I mean, he financed the damn thing, right? So I think after the nightmare of A New Hope, he was like, nope, I got a lot of money now. I'm doing this.
Yeah. Then he created a brand new nightmare because, you know, what he actually did is he took out a loan from a bank. And
Yeah, I think he had put 10 or 8 mil or 10 mil from A New Hope into it, and then took
that was
a loan,
bankrolled by Fox, but now he was doing it independently. He went to Bank of America, I think, to secure another loan for this film. And he thought, like, hey, everything's going to go great because I'm in charge now. I'm calling all the shots.
Got a couple bucks, you know,
Yeah,
so.
but the problem was he got Gary Kurtz back, and Gary Kurtz was going over the budget in A New Hope. So he got the same guy to run this film, and he was doing the exact same thing. And Irvin Kershner, I mean, famously was just like, I'm going to do 10 takes of Han Solo hitting his head on top of, you know, the dock, or the cockpit in the Millennium Falcon. So it's just like, yeah. So, I mean, when you look at the film, out of the original 3 films, it's the most beautifully filmed one. The film stock was the best. The fact that they were meticulously doing things over and over again, they got the best shot out of it. They were figuring out stuff on the fly. Famously, the whole, you know, I love you, I know, that took many, many takes because what was written on the page wasn't really working. When they finally got that take, George Lucas himself didn't like it. And then when they went and screened the film later with that line, people were like laughing and stuff like that. And George Lucas thought, like, see, people are laughing at the line. No one likes it. It's stupid. It's corny. But then later on, he was just like, oh, you know what? People actually do like the line because they were saying it as they were as they were coming out of the screening. So that was all made possible because they took more time to do the film. Did it cost more money? Yes, it did. And at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Lucas was just like, that's what mattered to him, because the fact it went over budget, the bank was like, hey, listen, we're going to have to pull the funding on this because this is costing way more money than you promised us. And George had to go back and get co-financing from 20th Century Fox, leaving them to have creative control in some aspects of the film, and that pissed him off.
But, you know, even attempting to self-finance, I mean, that was, you know, pretty revolutionary or radical at the time, right? I mean, there eventually other directors, I think in the 80s and the 90s, 2000s, whether it's Kevin Smith with Clerks, M. Night Shyamalan, Darren Aronofsky with Pi, you know, that people started financing their own films, and Francis Ford Coppola, of course. I mean, what was that new one he did? I didn't see it. That was like $100 million.
Yeah, Megalopolis, which is a pile of garbage, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
So, but either way, let's be real. Self-financing a film was radical at the time, and so Lucas was like, you know, this is what I'm going to try to do, and like you said, a bunch of scenes were shot over and over again, including the scene you talked about.
Right.
So it was supposed to be "I love you too," and then so Harrison Ford was like, "Nah, I'm going to ad lib and just say I know," you know, and I remember in an interview he actually said something along the lines of, he said something like, you know, you want your badasses to be a badass, you know, and that's, you know, until the very end. So,
yeah,
and that was his reasoning and his thinking for that line. And obviously Lucas hated it. And,
well, so, initially, but then he warmed up to it.
Initially,
yeah, but when he warmed up to it later, but it was just one of those things. It was a purely collaborative process, and that's why Empire works as a film.
And it became one of the most iconic lines of all time. I mean,
well, that and another line as well that we'll get into later.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I think is more famous. But
so the script had issues, like we said. The production had its issues too, especially when filming in the exterior halt scenes in Norway. And that was one of those. Whoops! There goes another $1 million. Whoops! There's another $1 million.
Yeah, well, that's
and
not
another.
Yeah, well, that's not unique to this film. I mean, on-set trouble is always a thing on any set production. You go in there. It happened in the last film too. They went to Tunisia. It's supposed to be perfect weather. It was raining all the time and you know, it was record heat waves, and you had like dudes like Anthony Daniels in that gold suit, that plastic suit, and Kenny Baker in the R2 unit, and they were getting almost getting heat stroke. So when it came to this, it's just like, I think they had records too with the snowfall. I don't know if it was records per se, but it was the fact that they went there and then all of a sudden there was like a blizzard. So it was really hard to maneuver around that. So, I mean, like, but that's going to be what's going to happen when you're filming on set and on location.
Yeah, I think he was hoping for what, 15-20 million. It definitely was over 30 million at the end of it.
Yeah,
the budget. But I love hearing about the filming, like the halt parts and the lengths that they had to go to and all the issues. And to me, it's very interesting. And Yeah, I mean, for as far as Hoth, they were looking for a real location for it, right? And they were looking all over Europe, Northern Europe, and so they found this place in Norway, Finse. It's kind of between Oslo and Bergen, which is Norway's second largest city. Oslo is the capital. They were filming on that glacier there. It's called Hardangerfjorden. My Norwegian's a little rusty.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's a mouthful already.
Yeah, Hardangerfjorden. So
Hard on idiot
Beklager.
loco. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, close enough. And the rest of the filming was actually in a hotel. It's this historic mountain hotel. It's called Finsa 1222 because they're 1222 meters above
Sea level or something, or ground
sea
level.
level. Correct. Yeah. So they basically were forced to film about 20, 25 feet outside of the hotel. So it was just a brutal filming
It was like
experience.
-20 or something like that, right?
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, that snowstorm, they hadn't had a snowstorm like that in 50 years, I think. So, I mean, that's just because of, usually actually the weather there is, other than winter, but, the temperatures are usually mild because of the Gulf Stream, right? But then you get that warm air causes a lot of moisture, so then you get a lot of snow, right? And then sometimes there's like a polar northern wind and like that. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, filming there, everything was freezing up, right? You've seen it in the documentaries, and Kirshner's talked about it so much. Everything froze. The wires froze. The smoke machine froze. Everything stopped working. And, the smoke machine for the Tauntaun, right? So what they actually had to do to get the smoke is they had to grab a bunch of cigarettes and start smoking.
Jesus.
So they started smoking cigarettes. They put it in a bag, and then they put it in the back of the Tauntaun's head, so the smoke would come out of its nostrils and its mouth.
Oh, damn.
Just because the machine stopped working, and I guess because the air is thin, right? So
Hmm.
they got the look that they wanted from that, and yeah, it was a very difficult place for them to film. I mean, I think you can only take a train there, and the storm was just making things impossible. And at one point, the train couldn't get there, so they had to take snowmobiles. That's what Harrison Ford did to film, and that's according to George Lucas. And
They had to ride a polar bear.
yes, that too. That's true. That's
They
documented.
have to fly.
Yeah.
They have to fly. They have to get on a raft. They have to slide on the
Yeah.
thin ice. Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, like that's got to really suck to film in those conditions.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher showed up when they were filming, but she didn't even have any scenes. But there's a video of her saying that she just wanted to show up to irritate everybody.
And probably get high too.
Probably.
She's got the coke
So,
fingernail in the movie if you watch.
that's true. Yeah, and but yeah, it was very difficult for them filming it there. But and those scenes are so great.
Yeah.
Hoth is just awesome.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, getting into Hoth in particular, it's the only major battle in the entire film, and it's actually placed in the beginning. Interestingly enough, when Lucas came up with the idea, because there was more important character-related stuff that was going to happen later on, he decided, well, instead of ending this whole thing with a battle, because I know I'm going to make another one, I'll end it with a cliffhanger with this big reveal, which was a guardly kept secret. And he's like, I'll put the battle in the beginning, which is at the time very controversial, or not, maybe not controversial, but it was very unorthodox. Because it's just like, I don't know, should I start with the battle? I'll do it anyway. And honestly, it doesn't really affect the film all that much. As a matter of fact, when you watch the film, it doesn't really occur to you like, why is the battle here? Shouldn't it be in the ending? It's more like, no, because you're watching the story and you're watching the events unfold and you're like, yeah, this makes sense. I mean, the Empire's literally striking back. And so it's supposed to show that the Empire is really honing in on the rebel base and the heroes have to escape and they have to hide and they're getting captured, culminating to the ending of the film. They're bruised and battered, defeated. And it's just like at the lowest point where you can be at if you're at the hero's perspective, leading into the final film in the trilogy. So it's just like, the whole film is, I think Irving Kershner puts it, as a big second act. That's all it is.
And it worked out great too, because I mean, you have Hoth, you have Echo Base there, so okay, that's where the rebels are. That's their base of operations for now.
Yeah.
And then eventually they, move on to, Yavin 4, and it's just awesome, man. Just awesome.
But a question I want to pose: does this film hold up?
That is the question.
It is considered the most popular Star Wars film out of all of them.
I
So
think it's the best Star Wars film. Yeah.
I disagree.
How
So
dare you, sir? How dare you have a differing opinion?
I know, right? Pitchforks come out,
Um,
hang me. But
I said in the last one, A New Hope that's my favorite, but I personally think Empire is the best Star Wars film. And not only that, I think it's one of the greatest sequels of all time. I mean, maybe up there with Godfather 2, Terminator 2, and others. I
yeah,
mean, it's just a really brilliant film.
yeah. Because if you think about it, the first film, the previous film, New Hope, it's just like that is as perfect of a blockbuster as you can get. So how do you follow up that? Well, they made Empire, which is by all intents and purposes an unorthodox sequel, but the way they handle that, the heroes lose, it's a cliffhanger, people's limbs get cut off. It's just like this is like not what you expect as a sequel to like a big blockbuster family friendly film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In spite of all that, it is, like you said, it's considered one of the best, and it's just like it is the most popular. It's up there with all these other sequels and stuff.
Yeah.
I think in spite of all that, I mean, it's a very beautiful film to look at. Like I said, it's the most beautifully filmed out of the three original films. The performances are great. The lines are great. I ultimately, though, I just don't think is as much fun as the first or third film. That's the only thing about it. It's like, and there are also little things too, like the romance is pretty corny. A lot of people love the romance and it's like, oh my god. But I'm like, no, that's pretty lame actually. Han comes out as kind of a creep in this in some parts. Like it just doesn't, he's too aggressive, I feel. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe some people like that, but I'm just like, yeah. The romance in Return of the Jedi I feel is a lot better. It feels more relaxed. It feels more natural to me. So yeah, it's so, I don't know. And plus the biggest, most famous line, Luke, no, he actually says, no, I am your father. It's less like, yeah, it's a big plot twist. It's one of the best plot twists in film history. It also created a lot of problems, especially when it came to Return of the Jedi, because by doing that, now the first film doesn't make that much sense. And now a lot of the things that they established in that first film are just like, huh? Now, like Obi-Wan blatantly lying to Luke, like Vader not recognizing that there's another presence that's his son. He recognizes Luke a lot in Empire, but not so much in the first film. They're big problems now, and they had to be rectified in Return of the Jedi. And a good chunk of that film is about justifying that choice. So in one way, it is shocking. It is a great plot twist, but yeah, it came with a lot of baggage, and I feel like it hurt. The first and third films as a result. Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, I think part of that is because that wasn't initially going to be the case, right? I think they ended up.
It wasn't.
They didn't originally. Vader wasn't going to be Luke's. They wasn't connected that way. So I mean,
it was a completely different story.
Changed later. So yeah. So I mean, I think that's part of it. But at the end of the day, it's still a very shocking or jarring, scene, and it obviously became one of the most iconic things in film. But I definitely see what you're saying, though.
You're not going to fight me?
No, I mean, I actually kind of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say that, I think a lot of people really like Empire at the end of the day because it is dark. It is the darkest entry in the original trilogy, especially because I guess people just really like that really cathartic, like, oh, doom and gloom and stuff like that. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's just like not everything has to be all doom and gloom. You know what I mean? It's just like, I like peril. I like things when they get too hot and how are they going to get out of this one? But if that's the whole damn movie, it's just like, I don't know, man. That doesn't do it for me personally. I like seeing the heroes win at the end. That's just me.
Well, yeah, I mean, George Lucas always was, that was one thing that, you wanted to make sure that the heroes always win, which obviously is a huge factor in Return of the Jedi.
Of course.
Which we'll go into another time. But yeah, for me, I mean, the movie's it's so damn good. It's brilliant. I mean, the plot's good. The twist is good. Character development's good. I think love story works. The special effects are good. The music's great. Obviously, we got the Imperial March in the damn movie. I mean, we don't have to keep repeating how awesome the score is, right? But John Williams and
he
London Orchestra too. I mean,
he did fantastic in this one too, of course. He did fantastic in pretty much all three of the films. I guess you could say the other ones as well, but
I think this movie, in many ways, took what A New Hope has and ups the ante, and just it really, with that great direction from Kirshner and good cast performances and score and the effects and everything. I mean, just
Yeah, it went a different direction for sure, and that was the only way.
true,
That's
yeah,
the only
yeah,
way they could go about this because they couldn't repeat the first film because then it's just like, what's the point?
yeah, yeah. And I always say that while Empire, personally, I think is the best film. I like A New Hope more, and there's just something about the hero's tale, and there's something about the magic of Star Wars that you find in A New Hope that you don't get to that degree in Empire or even Jedi. So I mean,
Well,
and personally, that's what I think. So
yeah, it's the first of its kind. That's why. And plus, you can't.
right.
The way the story is plotted, as we said in the last episode, it's just so good that you just don't have much to complain about. So,
Yeah.
my personal favorite is
But they
Return of the
do
Jedi, but
yeah, but
there's
they
more.
do everything as good in this movie, if not better, some aspects, right? I mean, like the world building in New Hope is great, even starting in Tatooine, and then in Empire, world building is even greater, or Galaxy, and it's just they did a really good job with that, and so
Well, they expanded it greatly. They added new things
yeah,
into it, like the bounty hunters, for instance. And you saw things like the asteroid
correct.
field. We have a cloud city. We have the Dagobah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and obviously Hoth, as we talked about. And even when
Yeah,
we get
we get a
into
lot.
yeah, we get a hell of a lot. And even within
Yeah,
Cloud City itself, you get to the dark underbelly of it. You get to see like the carbonite process, which is a really dark moment. A really cool thing
yeah,
about that sequence too is that when they did like the sculpture for Han being in the carbonite, originally he was like standing up straight and he looked neutral. But Irvin Kershner was just like, nah, he's got to look like he was trying to get out, like, which is really dark if you think about it, but it was the right move because him with his arms going out and he's like going, "Ah!" That's kind of horrifying. That's basically horror-esque, but it really works. There's just a lot of elements to this film that do work a lot. But like I said, I like the heroes to win at the end. I don't like a big cliffhanger. To me, that doesn't make a particularly good film. It's a good build up to the next film, but it's on its own. I don't think it's a good film as a result of that. And other aspects like that. But nonetheless, all that stuff being said, it's still a really good film on its own. It's really hard to say that it isn't. I just feel like, given its reputation, I do think it's kind of overrated, though.
hmm. Yeah. Well, I definitely don't agree with you.
My feelings are hurt.
I know. This podcast is over. We're out of here.
All right. We're going solo now.
You've gone too far.
We're going Han Solo.
Calling Empire overrated. How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think this film is overrated. I think it's fantastic.
Well, overrated within the series itself. As a movie, I mean, it's rated appropriately. But within the series itself, I think it's overrated.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'd be insane to think this is overrated in general, of course.
I mean, I was like,
there's too many things going good for this film. Like, all the praise is rightfully deserved. But but within the actual Star Wars, library, it's just like, I mean, I definitely put it at the top 3 for sure. But out of the 3 movies, I put this at the bottom. I put this like my last place. I put Jedi, and then I put A New Hope, and then I put this one dead last. It's just like, it's good, but it's not as great as the other 2. But that's just my personal preference because I like fun, I like adventure, I like all this other stuff, and a lot of that stuff is like absent in Empire. It's like I said, it's doom and gloom, and I'm like, maybe if
it's
you like
serious, it's darker, for sure.
I mean, if you like that stuff, good for you, man. But just like even in the other notable films that it's up against, Aliens has a satisfying conclusion. Terminator 2 has a satisfying conclusion. It's just like those films that are like content wise on par. They are fully fledged narratives they're self-contained movies that are just great from beginning to end, proper resolution. That's just what I like.
Now, as far as the special edition changes, of course, we went over quite a few of them in A New Hope. Going to do the same thing here. Just like in that recording, in that podcast, I said that the changes in this film generally were more positive, or the reaction was more positive, and I agree with that. I think a lot of the changes were really good.
Yeah, I think I agree too, because there's not too much that was changed, and the stuff that they did change was just like, that makes sense.
Starting in Hoth, since the movie begins there, special edition changes. One that I liked, the Wampa scene. So the original plan to film the scene, they had a performer in a suit and he was on stilts, and they got rid of that. It just didn't work out as impractical. So special edition came around. Lucas was like, "Okay, I want an extended version of the scene that's in the original, and it was going to be filmed with practical effects, and just change it up a little bit."
To summarize, he just was like, I want more Wampa. Give me more Wampa.
More Wampa, exactly. That's essentially it. Extended the scene. He decided earlier that the creature would be using practical effects instead of CGI. Yeah, so basically they ended up still using an actor in a suit for filming, but they got rid of the stilts because that was a nightmare. Like, to film with that, the actor was like, "This isn't working out." Essentially, what they did was they scaled down the cave that Luke's in, and to make the creature look bigger, appear bigger.
Because they should have done in the first place.
They they should have, but for whatever reason, they were like,
it's a little thing called forced perspective. It's been in film for decades at that point. They weren't thinking about this.
Yeah, and it took the special edition for him to be like, "Okay, this is how we should do it." Also, they added a little bit of blood and the goo, it's coming out of the Wampa's mouth. So a little bit of gore added.
Yeah,
which is good. I think it adds that monstrous look to the Wampa and makes him more imposing and deadly.
If I remember correctly, the scenes that they added is him eating the tauntaun, Luke's little the rat thing that he was riding on, and then he gets up, then he walks over, and then after Luke cuts his arm off, there's a scene where he goes back and goes ah with his arm cut off. So it's just like, that's all I remember as far as the new stuff. Whereas in the original one, it's all suggestive. It's all like close-ups, and then there's a close-up of the face, and then he does the thing. You don't see what happens, and then Luke runs off. So it's more suggestion. It harkens back.
There's a lot of implied.
It's more implied. Yeah, it's that old school like horror way of shooting, which is like less is more, which is
nice too. I like that.
It's usually the case. I think it works either way. I think the original works, but the new stuff works just as well, I feel. So I don't really have much of a complaint between the old and the new.
I'm a fan of implied gore, but in this case, adding that extra element to it, I think it just made the Wampa even more, deadly, and I think it made the scene kind of work a little bit better. But eventually Luke chops his arm off, and Obi-Wan taught him that move, in the cantina, and Mos Eisley.
Oh yeah, he's like, we'll do a throwback, guys.
Go for the arm.
Yeah. But but it's just like, it's a good scene and stuff. I mean, like, to me, it's just like, we see more Wampa. Cool.
Yeah, well, there's going to be more Wampa in the deleted scene, right? The one that Wampas started invading the base.
Yeah, I covered that in a short that I did in our channel of deleted script ideas. And originally, instead of the whole Empire versus Rebels thing, the Rebels were originally attacked by Wampas. The reason why they didn't go along with that is because it was a logistical nightmare to get all these dudes in suits to go around and like tear up these the Rebels. Remnants were actually filmed and were taken out little by little. So the only thing left is that there's like a door in there, and there was like a thing that was ripped off the door which says "Don't enter Wampa." C-3PO actually ripped it off, and then the stormtroopers come in and they get attacked by the Wampas and whatever. And
they walk by it, and then it gets grabbed by the Wampa, and then the door closes.
Yeah, it's pretty comedic. And the only other reference to that too is in the video game Shadows of the Empire, where you do fight the Wampas in the Rebel base.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, but that's all stemming from the first draft, so it's kind of a cool idea the way it was written, but it wasn't going to work out. And plus, I prefer ATSTs versus the snow speeders. That's just a much better way to begin the film anyway.
Why not have it all?
Yeah, I mean, we could have had it all, but you know what? We got what we got, and I'm happy.
Yeah, in that deleted scene, Vader even shows up, because the trooper gets grabbed by the Wampa, the door closes, Vader walks by it like, what's going on here? It's like, I imagine the trooper's like, oh, nothing, sir, nothing at all, Lord Vader.
Did you see what I see?
Breathes, and he's like, all right, carry on. Carry on.
Yeah, so, as a matter of fact, in the original script too, like, the Empire shows up like way later, so they were kind of late to the party.
True,
yeah. I mean, like, the original draft, I mean, having read that, it's kind of bad. There's some cool ideas here and there, but it's a pretty bad draft.
Okay, so one significant thing was the Emperor scene, which also is better now, no doubt.
Yeah.
The original was played by an actress. That's right, actress Marjorie Eaton. A lot of makeup and superimposed chimp eyes.
Yeah.
And
Voiced
an
by some
actor.
voiced by some other dude.
Yeah. Clive Revel. He was the voice actor. He actually was Alfred in a couple episodes of Batman animated series.
Hmm.
And he wasn't the main voice actor for Alfred. But he was in there. And then, anyway, so they ended up changing that back to Ian McDermott, the Emperor we know, and from the prequels and from Return of the Jedi. So the
Yeah.
original prosthetics were actually designed by Phil Tippett, but they were actually put on by Rick Baker. And so there's a photo of that and all that. And
You're talking about the original or the special edition?
the original.
Okay.
The original prosthetic and original designs were done by Phil Tippett and applied by Rick Baker. Rick Baker had already worked with him on like
A New Hope.
the Cantina sequence in Mos Eisley and in New Hope.
Yeah, George Lucas stole his creature designs. So
Whoop.
Oopsies. But yeah, so when it comes to that change, I think the special edition is better because Ian McDermott is just a really good actor, and he owns he owns the Emperor. He owns that role.
Definitely.
The only real complaint that I have about the special edition one is that the makeup effects are not quite on par. He doesn't quite look like how he does in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And I think that's always been the case because when you look at the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, it's different from how he looks like in Revenge of the Sith, how he looks in this special edition. So that's always been a big complaint with me. But other than that, he kills it. As soon as he comes up, I'm like, that's the Emperor. Not this weird chimp lady hybrid thing. No. that wasn't it. But I can't blame him because they still couldn't figure out what the Emperor was going to look like. It was just like, it was one of those things that were kind of like making stuff up. So they did what they could at the time.
Some people, they were thinking that, the Emperor would be more of this, Nixonian kind of bureaucrat type of thing. And initially. And so there were definitely changes along the way. And
hell,
but that being said, I think this was ultimately a good call for these changes. I mean, bringing in Ian McDermott, and it makes sense. It worked out. It
does, yeah. But also going in with that too, they couldn't figure out what Vader was going to look like. Also, that's why when you see the shot, that's why you see that shot where you see him without the helmet, but the backside before they put the helmet on, he turns around in his little chamber thing. It's just like they were like they generally knew that he was going to be disfigured and have a bald head and whatever, but that was pretty much it. They didn't know exactly. They didn't know if one eye should droop lower than the other. He should look like a mutant and whatever.
Yeah,
they had no idea what he was going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and different people, directors, producers, people had different ideas. They were like, "This is probably what I think it." So of course, eventually they.
As a matter of fact, they did. I forget who it was. I think it was Lawrence Kasdan. He was just like, he really thought he was going to look like monstrous out of this world. But then by Return of the Jedi, he's like, he looks like a dude. So that that kind of disappointed him. But I disagree. I think he's fine. But anyway,
he wanted a demon.
He wanted a demon, essentially. Yeah,
he got a dude, but he wanted a demon.
Yeah, I know. But at the end of the day, it was one of those things where George made the right call, and that was one of them.
Yeah. Which he often does.
Yeah, by committee, yes.
Yeah.
That's its own episode, I think. But
there is one fun fact or trivia with the actress who played the Emperor, Marjorie Eaton. She's actually the earliest born actor in all of Star Wars, all the movies, all the shows. She's the oldest born one. I think she was born in 1901.
Damn.
So, yeah. And she's not in the movie, obviously, anymore, so I just wanted to share a fact about her.
That she was old as
what is there? So.
Anyway, that's cool. I'm fascinated. I'm morbidly fascinated by, especially watching these films, like, when were these people born in? What year was it? So it's always
it's really interesting to think about, yeah.
It really is, yeah, because they're like, it was before these events happened. Were they born in the 19th century? It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, just look at New Hope. I mean, Alec Guinness was born in like 1914, I think.
Yeah.
So
he lived all the way to 99, I believe.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Maybe even 2000.
Yeah, because I know that for a fact, because I remember back in the day when Phantom Menace first came out, they actually interviewed him, and that was in the magazine. They asked him like what he thought about the film, and he basically said like, I don't care. I'm old and I got paid.
These aren't the movies I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
When he was doing A New Hope, right? He was like, I don't know what this is. This isn't going to go anywhere, but let's do it. It's fun.
I'll take that percentage though. That point one
Yeah, yeah.
percent, whatever it was.
He was like, all right. He was definitely pleasantly surprised how well it did and everything.
This
So.
is the money I was looking for. You'll put it in my pants pocket. But anyway, another change also in the special editions is the fact that they put more windows in Cloud City. Is that right?
Oh man, that's right. Cloud City actually had a bunch of changes. I like, once again, here's another change in this film that I like. The Cloud City changes, way more vibrant, way more booming. The exterior shots, even before they land on the platform, and before they enter, the flyover through the city, that's all new, special edition.
Yeah.
The windows inside, like you just said, I mean, that opened up the scene so much because it used to be just like plain white walls in the original.
Yeah.
Like white walls, white floor, and it just felt kind of, I don't know.
It's a very 70s aesthetic if you think about it.
Yeah. So it having this open up more, I always felt it added it added some sort of positivity to it with that openness and the light coming in, and in a sense there's like a whole lot more going on in Cloud City, right? It's a legit city in the clouds, and it's like, oh well, what could go wrong? But I mean, it's not long afterwards, and you have a feeling things aren't exactly as they seem, right? And the hits the fan, and the next thing you know, you're joining Vader for IT.
Pretty much. I like the robot chicken sketch of that. That's pretty funny.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good one.
Pass the bread.
Robot Chicken in general with Star Wars did a phenomenal job.
Oh yeah, of course. They really killed it with that stuff.
Yeah.
But
those, some of those changes that they did there, but there also was, like, towards the end, the confrontation with Luke and Vader. Of course, there's a screen from the special edition of Luke.
You're talking about when he's like falling down and stuff?
The air shaft, yeah. And he's holding on to the antenna on the exterior of Cloud City at the end, right? And the original is actually better without the screen. They just had music playing. Right?
Oh yeah, that's all you need.
That was great.
Yeah,
that's all you needed, man. I thought it was great. And I don't know what the hell they were thinking added in the screen. It sounded so obnoxious, and
it was just one of those things where maybe they felt they needed it in the moment, but it never did.
Yeah. I mean, what's next? They're going to change the scream to Homer Simpson going. I mean, come on, man.
Another thing, speaking about voices, that was unnecessary is Boba Fett's voice change.
Yeah.
I mean, let me take that back. I don't think it's unnecessary. I just don't like it. I get why they changed it, because Morrison, who was cast as Jango Fett, who was a clone, who made his little clones Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's a clone of Jango Fett.
Exactly.
I understand the logic behind that. I still don't like it. I like the original voice much better. It sounded more sinister. It sounded more mysterious. Whereas the other dude sounded like a Kiwi, because he is a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I totally get why they did that, but I don't think it was necessary.
Yeah. And no disrespect to Morrison. It's just like, he does a good job as Boba Fett as best as he can. He's obviously enthusiastic about getting the role. He's obviously really happy to having reprised the role, even though they scaled it back recently because of Book of Boba Fett, which really sucked. And that's not his fault. He just did what he was told, and he got punished for it.
Yeah. Well, you wanted like a rated R, different direction, and so, but
he wanted Boba Fett to not take off his helmet and not talk as much.
Which is what I think we all wanted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because when you look at the character in Empire, he wasn't really supposed to be a breakout character, but he became a breakout character. He just served the function of like, I'm the dude who's gonna track Han Solo to Cloud City and then take him, have him in Carbonite, and ship him to Jabba. That's his only role in the film.
He's the bounty hunter. That's what he is. Like, there's all these bounty hunters you see him in A New Hope, and Boba Fett is the bounty hunter, and that's what it was. And so, but of course, Lucas wanted to,
well, he did what he did. I mean,
make those changes accordingly, and then of course Disney had other plans in mind.
Yeah, which they of course
always do. So,
which is a whole different discussion. But yeah, when it comes to Boba Fett specifically, I mean, like, I just prefer the original voice. I don't really like the redo.
I'm okay with it because it's a minor thing, but yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, the changes they made to Empire, they don't really affect my opinion greatly. I mean, sure, they changed some things, and not even limited to what we discussed. I mean, there was other special effects changes, as always. and other dialogue changes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which people are unhappy about, and some unnecessary. So,
but I think like what we said before, there are least egregious changes in this one compared to the other two.
Yeah, and a few of them were really good. So solid changes, and in such a solid film, just so damn good.
It's as such where I wouldn't mind seeing the special edition of this movie. I definitely do mind seeing the special editions of the first and the third one, especially the third one. That is unforgivable what they did in Return of the Jedi. but yeah, when it comes to Empire, it's just like, yeah, it's fine. For the most part, it's fine. All right, so ultimately, when it comes to ratings, what do you give it?
Easily a 9 out of 10. I mean, like I said, movie's brilliant. I mean, plot, twist, character development, special effects, music, everything. I mean, it's just so good. It's the best Star Wars movie. It took what A New Hope had and took it to the next level. Even the performances of the actors, like Mark Hamill, for example, much better in this film. So just an awesome movie. 9 out of 10. Yeah,
I think it'd be criminal to rate it anything under a 9, so I'll definitely give it a 9 as well. Like I said, it is my least favorite out of the original trilogy. The first one I was like 9 also, but I would be willing to give it more of a 9.5. Whereas this one, 9, that's where you're gonna stay. I ain't gonna go more than that because I do have complaints, as I mentioned earlier, but it is a great film. I don't get tired of watching it, regardless of whatever hangups I have. It's a great entry to the series. Do I think it's the best Star Wars film? Again, no. But is it a great film in its own right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yankee thinks Episode 1 is the best. He loves Jar Jar.
Shh! How dare you give that up? I love Jar Jar. I want more Jar Jar.
I love Jar Jar.
Oh, Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Misa, what's happened to you?
Misa be a senator. Make the call to make the Empire more powerful.
Andy, no.
Oh, Andy, no. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Robot Chicken, man.
Oh, I love it.
It's the best.
All right, guys, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about Return of the Jedi next.
That's your favorite. I know that.
I'm going to be talking a hell of a lot about this one. But until then, guys, take it easy.
Thanks so much, and may the Force be with you always.